Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of what genre is this? With sort of a double feature, I'm guessing. We have Oathbreaker coming in. That's the band, and it looks like we're doing two songs. The first one's called 10:56, 10 minutes 56 seconds, and the second one is Second Son of R period, so maybe that is a short for something else. And I assume one is an intro to the other, or the other is an outro to the other. But it is a full music video. It's not like it's just two parts on an album that need to be listened together or something like that. They actually push the two together for the music video. So let's get into this and see what this is all about. Alright, that intro is certainly enthralling. Dude, the muscles on that drummer is just constant blast beats here. All those offbeat hits really made me think that the initial hit and this pattern was the offbeat one. That was interesting. Yeah, this is a ridiculously intense track. I like those drum fills there. Yeah, lots of really cool drum work going on with the toms. Yeah. Well, I guess just to break the ice here and hopefully get my brain rolling a little bit so I can talk about this. Yesterday I mentioned that I didn't want to sort of answer the what is this genre question of the week, but that I probably would just because that's that's what I feel like I have to do mentally. My personality, I need to classify things. I like packaging things into corners and putting things into their own bins and organize things. Um, so, without cheating and calling this progressive something, like I did yesterday, just throwing that avant-garde label down. Um, yeah, this has a lot of post-rock trappings to it, as far as I think what would be the core premise to it, mixed with just emotive rock. I don't think that that's a subgenre, but the heavy sections are definitely post rock, post metal influenced. Definitely, I'm seeing a lot of comparisons to Cult of Luna as far as the way that they fill space, um, and work with repetitive sounds to drive home a specific atmosphere and an emotion. But then there's also the quiet sections, not necessarily including the opening, the intro, although that can be packaged in with some of the other um, slower sections of this track. But that's usually just the vocalist, and we had violins, I think, synth work probably during the intro, and then it was clean vocals with the guitar, very sparse guitar, not doing chord work. Um, just playing individual notes in a run. Very sparse. I don't really think I can give that much of a genre either way. It's it's vocals and an instrument. That appears in so many genres. I think just because of the electric guitar, I would label that probably closest to some sort of rock stuff. So yeah, that's where I would put this. It's post rock with some sections that would meet slower rock songs. Um, let's just jump at the elephant in the room. These guys can create both atmosphere and emotion in both the most over the top in your face method as well as very suppressed ways as well. They have their sparse sections, which are two voices, and they very effectively introduce emotion into those. And then they have their loud sections that are massively overdriven, massively distorted, uh, ridiculously loud. And they're extremely oppressive. They definitely pull an emotion out of those sections as well. And I don't think this topic of atmosphere and emotion can be spoken about without talking about that ending. I mean, as far as filling up the sound sphere, and just having a heavy oppressive sound while also seemingly losing control in some way, shape, or form. It was similar to the heavy section that we saw in the middle of the track. However, it had a much shorter repetition and it seemed to work primarily on quarter notes. Every instrument was just hammering out these ridiculously accented quarter notes on every single beat, while the singer literally screamed. Not like a metal scream. This is just like an emotive scream, loss of control, uh, grief stricken type of scream. It was just very. God, that ending was just impactful, and I don't think most people are going to be able to walk away from this song on a first listen. You can always kind of numb yourself to it through repetition, but on a first listen, I don't think too many people are going to be able to walk away from this track and feel unaffected. I don't see how that's possible, and maybe I am just injecting too much bias into that and extrapolating my feelings to sort of a universal idea. And yeah, there's some dangers in that. But I don't know, man. This song left me feeling empty. It drained me. It is uh extremely oppressive. It is depressive. It's filled with grief. It's filled with uh I don't even know. It's a heavy song in every sense of that. It's heavy emotively. There is a lot of really negative, strongly negative emotions portrayed throughout here, but then you also have like the heaviness of heavy metal, the distortion in the volume and all that. Um, the sharp attacks, the accented notes. It's a heavy song in every aspect. And yeah, it's just I don't even know how to properly go about talking about it, other than just saying that it is oppressive and sad. There's bits of grief, there's bits of submission, there's bits of um, strength and trying to find energy to break free, but I also feel like there's a lot of portions that the breaking free is futile, that it's wasted energy. And I feel like maybe at the end the singer kind of succumbs to that. They realize that as well. This is one of those songs that is extremely the lyrics are extremely important, and this is something that while I'm thinking about it, let me go ahead and toss that in my music folder. I have to come back to this, not today, um, but I need to come back to it sometime and dive in and see what's going on. Um, yeah, but the other thing I want to point out is, like I said, that's kind of the elephant in the room. I don't think anybody can walk away from this and not feel something. And I think, at least for me, those are that's probably the three most important emotions is the oppressiveness of the music, and also like a desire to break free from something or to get out of whatever, and then a loss of that desire, possibly leading to submission. That's what I'm getting out of it. And possibly that loss of willpower leading to some sort of uh, internal struggle. I don't want to say mental break. I feel like that's too cliche, but maybe an internal struggle between knowing what the body wants to do, but also mentally knowing the limitations of whoever's stuck within the situation, um, and sort of that clash there, which leads to the end. So, like I said, that's kind of the elephant in the room. But I also really want to point out, and I know there's quite a few bands in the post rock, post metal stuff that we've checked out that do this very well. Specifically, I mentioned already Cult of Luna. We talked about them last time when we checked out. Was that Cygnus? See, I want to say that Cygnus is a Mars Volta song, but I think it's also a Cult of Luna song. Anyways, though, the last Cult of Luna song we checked out, we talked about this, but I also want to bring it up here because they do this exceptionally well as well. Is the ability to jump between two extremes. There are no slow builds here. We don't slowly come down from the oppressive highs, and we don't slowly build up into those highs from the vulnerable lows. It is a switch getting flipped. We go from one extreme to the other on a dime. And the electronic nature helps with that a little bit. You just pump up the volume, toss on the distortion. All of it can be done with a single a stomp pedal that you've got all set up, and you just go between preset 1 and 2 as far as that goes. But there's also some physical mechanical changes that you need to do as a guitarist, from nice sweeps to heavy strumming. And you have to switch between those two mentalities of sort of trying to aim for more of a legato feel and then going for those harsh staccato accents. The drumming is just, I don't think there was any drumming in the soft bits, so maybe that's not so much a difficulty for him. He's just destroying those drums, hitting them with all of his might anytime he's playing. But I also don't think we can overlook the skill in that. We've talked about it with other bands that do this. I mentioned something along these lines when we checked out Krallis like a year ago, I guess. Just the constant blast beats, just it it wears you down physically, your muscles, and for him to just move through this, and assuming that they play more music like this, the rest of a live show is also going to have a lot of these blast beats and fast bass kicks and whatever. The dude is just his arms are steady. They're pointed at the two things he needs to hit, and it's just like constant hitting. Um, and there were some nice drum fills in there. There's a section in the middle that I really liked where he did this tom run across beats 2 and 3, I think. So he did show a little bit of flexibility in his drumming work, but maybe the song is just not a good showcase of his drumming writing, and I don't think not sophisticated, more complex drumming would have helped the song at all. But I do think that he got a chance to put a little bit of ornamentation in it. And I am a little interested in what else he can do as far as his drumming goes. Not necessarily the raw skill, but more of the flourishes and embellishment that he tosses in. And then the singer just flipping on a dime from the very airy, vulnerable, quiet singing to all out screams. I don't think we can ignore the slide. I don't know if that's what you could call it. That's what I would call it if it was an instrument. We slide from one note to another note. When she slid from the clean note into her fry, that was remarkable. I think is a good word. I don't really want to say amazing because it was definitely a very intense moment, and I guess we could say awesome in the traditional sense. It was awe inspiring to hear that, even though it did not necessarily leave a positive taste in my mouth. I think in another context, it would have been kind of jaw dropping, but here it was tense. The whole song's kind of tense. Actually, this is just it's a heavy song. I just like I said, it's something that I am eager to get back to. I want to give it another listen, preferably with lyrics up, and really dig into what's going on here because I feel like the lyrics are extremely important to the narrative of the story. But I also know that this was a draining listen for me. And as much as I would like to experience it again in its full capacity, lyrics and all, it is not something I am going to be ready for a while. So it's going to sit in my folder, and I'll come back to it in another week or two when I'm not so drained from having just listened to it. But those are my thoughts. This is where you guys come in, hit me up. Let me know what you thought of Oathbreaker's 1056 and Second Son of R. If you've heard of them before, let me know if they do more stuff like this. Like I said, I am intrigued. I would like to list. I think this fixes one of my issues that I have with the post rock, post metal kind of stuff, and it's moments of release. A lot of the post rock stuff we've listened to is just constant all the time. Um, and this one introduces those moments, the solitary, sparse moments for me personally to catch my breath a little bit, to kind of calm down a little bit from the tension of the repetitive, distorted notes. So yeah. Oh, also, yeah, we can't wrap this up yet. I forgot to talk about the guitar work. I noticed in the first heavy section that the vocalist was giving us our melody line, and then she started doing the fries. So melody had to move on to something else, and in most post rock, it would not have been given to anyone else, which is sort of one of it. Well, it's one of the things that I'm not too fond of when we checked out Post Rock Week, is sort of a lack of melody. And I think the guitars found a nice middle ground here where they still sort of just kind of hammered notes away, but they found a way to sort of play a simple melody in their patterns where they sort of move around the notes a little bit. Not necessarily as fast, where it would be more of a traditional melody where it's something that you could hum, but they weren't just sitting on a single note for 8 beats and then changing to the next note of, whatever the chord progression is for 8 beats, and then the next note for 8 beats. There was a couple of interesting things in there where we had maybe two half notes and then a whole note, but strummed, eighth note strumming or whatever on these. But we had little bits of movement, like ba ba ba, in the lines, even though it was still just that constant harsh strumming. They were finding little ways to work in little dips and rises rather than just holding a note for the 2 bars that the chord existed on. So I appreciate that. It's like I said, it's not necessarily installing a hard melody into these sections. Uh, I guess that wouldn't really be post rocky, and I can also see that it would not have the desired effect of that just heavy, constant, repetitive weight that you get with this style of writing. So, I appreciate that it can't necessarily be added, but I also really appreciate how they decided to work in just, the tiniest hints of melody, something for me to latch on to, that I don't normally find, a ledge for me to grab that I don't normally find in this style of music. So yes, that is really the end of my thoughts this time. Just where you guys come in, hit me up in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Oathbreaker, and again, let me know if the rest of their stuff is like this. It does intrigue me, but also having a sort of context warning going in, knowing what I'm in for can help out a lot. Especially if it's more heavy stuff like this. What's next? Description box. Yeah, it is the description box. There's links in there adjacent for stuff adjacent to the channel, like the Patreon and the Discord server if you'd like to join any of that. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, with the next What Genre Is This song band reaction video. So far this week has been fairly interesting. We have a Godspeed You song that I sort of enjoyed, and a post-rock song that intrigued me and also emotionally drained me. So much so I couldn't talk about it. So yes, interesting start to the week. I'm excited about what's going to pop up in the next 3 days. So yes, until next time, remember to be critical and not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.